Welcome back to another episode of Out Loud Geek, where we discuss news and views about pop culture, science fiction, fantasy, food, cooking, the outdoors, and more. Back on July 27th, I released a video in which I provided an extensive review of the entire Star Wars The Acolyte series. And that video included a synopsis of all 8 episodes of the series, which I gave in just over 9 minutes, as compared to the approximate 5 hours and 23 minutes of runtime that those 8 episodes represent. And as I said in that video, in only 2.83% of the time needed to watch the series, I saved viewers 5 hours and 14 minutes of their lives by not having to do so to know what happens in it. I had also released 7 separate videos in which I reviewed each and every episode as they were being released, with the first of those videos covering episodes 1 and 2 together because they were released on the same day, June 4th, 2024. So I have talked a lot about The Acolyte on my channel, to include videos that I had released before the series premiered, and one video in which I talked about Nielsen viewership data for the show's first 3 episodes. And in this video, I'm going to talk about more Nielsen viewership data that has been released since then. But before proceeding, I'd like to ask everyone to please like this video, please leave a comment, please subscribe to support this channel, and please press the bell to receive notifications. Thanks! As Nielsen had reported a few weeks ago, their viewership numbers for the week of June 3rd through June 9th included the first 2 episodes of The Acolyte, to which they reported a total of 488 million minutes streamed, because that viewership number actually made it into Nielsen's top 10 original shows list of streamed minutes. And for those of you who may not know this, Nielsen only reports viewership data for the top 10 most streamed shows in 4 categories on a weekly basis. And those 4 categories are as follows. The top 10 overall most streamed productions, which includes original shows, acquired shows, and movies. Then the top 10 most streamed original shows by themselves, followed by the top 10 streamed acquired shows by themselves, and finally, the top 10 most streamed movies by themselves. And for the week when the first 2 episodes of The Acolyte premiered, it only appeared on the top 10 most streamed original shows by themselves, but not in the top 10 overall streamed productions for that week. Then for the week of June 10th through the 16th, the streamed minutes for The Acolyte were once again in the top 10 most streamed original shows at 370 million minutes viewed. But for both of those reported weeks of Nielsen's most streamed original shows, The Acolyte was only ranked at number 7 and number 6, respectively. So neither week for the show's first 3 episodes was particularly stellar, since the show failed to crack the top 5 most streamed original shows even once. And for both of those weeks, as I had shown in my earlier viewership video about The Acolyte that I had released on July 16th, each of those weeks, viewership minutes were the lowest for any Star Wars series that preceded it, with the exception of The Book of Boba Fett during its premiere week, and that was likely due to only 1 episode being aired instead of 2 as with The Acolyte. So what about the Nielsen viewership data for the weeks when episodes 4, 5, and 6 of The Acolyte premiered? Well, that's rather interesting because, as I had said earlier in the video, you have to remember that Nielsen only reports the top 10 most streamed shows or movies for each of its 4 reporting categories. Episodes 4, 5, and 6 premiered during the weeks of June 17th through the 23rd, June 24th through the 30th, and July 1st through the 7th. And for each of those 3 weeks, guess what? The total streamed minutes for The Acolyte failed to be large enough to be reported by Nielsen, which means that the only thing that we can know about the viewership numbers for each of these 3 episodes is that their individual total minutes viewed are less than the least viewed show reported in Nielsen's top 10 original shows category for each of those weeks. So for episode 4, we know that its total minutes viewed is less than 298 million minutes. For episode 5, we know that it was viewed for less than 319 million minutes. And for episode 6, we know that it was viewed for less than 332 million minutes. Thus, episodes 4, 5, and 6 were each viewed less than episode 3's 370 million minutes. And what was episode 3? Why, it was the episode where Harvey Weinstein's former personal assistant, Leslye Headland, introduced her lesbian space witches and their awful chanting to the world.
Power of one, power of two, the power of many.
And since we know that the viewership for episode 3 was 370 million minutes streamed, and that the viewership for episodes 4, 5, and 6 were each less than that, and quite possibly under 300 million minutes viewed per episode, I think that we can safely conjecture that the lesbian space witches introduced in episode 3, which was a flashback episode, effectively turned a large number of the show's few viewers away.
So my character, you know, she's a powerful leader. Yes. In a very woman-centered world, which I was very excited to kind of be in that, because I feel like Star Wars is very like patriarchal, so it was kind of cool to have like this sort of woman-centered figure.
This is why Leslye Headland started begging people to post on social media to ask Lucasfilm to greenlight a second season of this awful show. I was convinced long before it premiered that the viewership for The Acolyte wouldn't be as good as compared with last year's live-action Ahsoka series, but I didn't know that it was going to be as bad as this. The only other Star Wars series that had an episode that didn't make it into Nielsen's top 10 most streamed original shows was the 9th episode of the Andor series, but that was only a single episode, not 3. So not only does The Acolyte have the most episodes to not make it into Nielsen's top 10 most streamed original shows, I don't believe that the viewership numbers for episodes 7 or 8 will either. The Acolyte is without doubt the least watched Star Wars series of all time. Thanks for watching today, and a huge thanks to everyone who has subscribed to our channel. We appreciate your support. If you enjoyed this video, please press the like button, and please feel free to share a comment. If you'd like to help support this channel, please press the red subscribe button, and please press the bell to receive notifications for new content. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Twitter by clicking on the links in the description. Until next time, this is Out Loud Geek.